Just before I introduce the panel, I just wanted to give you a quick update about what's been happening with the Chamber and with our current lobbying activities. So one of the benefits you get of being a member of an accredited Chamber of Commerce is that you get a direct access into Parliament. So examples that we've had from our own members have literally landed on the desk of Rishi Sunak and have informed policy change. So the whole furlough scheme was a direct result of Chamber lobbying, and we also lobbied hard on the self-employed assistance programme and for changes to civils, to extend it to larger companies and to make it easier to access. And we've been putting pressure on the banks to make sure that they respond appropriately and respond quickly, delivering cash where it's needed on the front line as soon as possible. I came off a chief executives conference call this morning, and there's a big discussion going on about two things. One is an extension to the schemes that are in place, so the furlough schemes, the grants through business rates, extending the period of deferring of VAT and revenue payments through PAYE, which are going to be essential. And the other thing is about coming out the other side of this. What does a return to business look like? And what we'll be doing with our Chamber events over the next few weeks is making sure we give you the latest updates on those, but also help you prepare your business for coming out the other side. And whether that's in a sort of gradual way, or how you manage social distancing when you're at work, how you manage your cash flow, all of those things will be covered in Chamber events going forward. So please keep an eye out for those. As a Chamber, we've never lobbied so hard. I've never spent so much time on Zoom calls and Skype and WhatsApp and you name it. I'm on calls to MPs, local authorities, LEPs, government, and I hope you're seeing the results of that. We are aware that some people still fall through the gaps, so particularly company directors who've paid themselves outside of the PAYE scheme. So they've paid themselves either in directors' loans repayments or in dividends. And we are doing what we can for government to plug those gaps, although there's a sense across the network that the government support from central government to plug these gaps has been slowing up somewhat, and we're rather disappointed with that. So we're working really hard to try and ensure that as many people as possible are covered and that the existing schemes carry on for as long as possible. I've also personally raised a point with BCC, and I want to take to government that although CBILS, the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, is undoubtedly a good start, there are, for some businesses, that's a bit of a red herring. I think borrowing money, incurring debt at a time of a falling market with not much chance of recovery the other side, or sorry, I shouldn't say not much chance of recovery. What I mean is no clear path to recovery the other side. And for some businesses, lost revenue is revenue that will never come back. So if you're a hotel and you were fully booked, you can borrow money to survive, but then you come out the other side, you can't double book to make up the revenue you have lost, and somehow you're going to be paying back loans too. So we're pushing really hard to extend the grant schemes. So we're not talking as much about borrowing money as we are about putting money into the businesses as soon as possible. So that's what we've been doing. If you feel you have fallen through the gaps anywhere, if you feel there's something that we should be doing for you, please let us know. You can email me, stuart.elford@devonchamber.co.uk. Olivia is also collating examples. If you've got examples, both ones where you are struggling, where you believe there's gaps in the support, then we want to know. But also, final point from me is we also want some good news stories from around the network. We want to hear how your businesses are adapting, how you are changing the way you do things. We want to hear success stories, partly because it's great just to share the good news, but also so we can share best practice and help our entire Devon economy through this and out the other side as soon as possible. And I suppose I did say finally, but one more final thing is we're also having big discussions across the network around the mental health aspects of it being in lockdown. I've discussed that with my own team. I personally hate it. I'm much more of a social person and like to be out and about, meeting you all and shaking hands. So I do understand that it's a real struggle for a lot of people. And our network is here to support you, not just through the practicalities of business, but as human beings and fellow business people. If you need to have an offload, please just pick up the phone and we'll be happy to speak. So I've somehow managed to do that almost to the minute on time. That's incredible, isn't it? I think it's the first time I've ever not banged on for longer than I should. So I want to introduce the panel to you. They're going to say a few words, a few minutes each. And then what we'll do is we will open up the floor to questions and answers. We've got Bethany Allen from Cornwall Marine Network, who's going to talk to us about skill support for the workforce. We've got Sharron Robbie from the Devon and Cornwall Training Provider Network, who most of you will know, and if you don't, where have you been? Sorry, I'm just admitting someone into there. Oh, someone else trying to join the meeting. There we go. So that's Sharron. We've got Mike Jones from City College, who's also going to talk about apprenticeships. And we've got Ian Woodland and Jacob Coburn-Lewis from Devon County Council, Learn Devon, and talk about the major programme of online training they can provide at this time. So perhaps if we start off, and remember to unmute yourselves, otherwise it's going to look like a silent movie. Bethany, would you like a few minutes? And if you start off and tell us a bit about yourself and what you're doing and what you're offering at the moment.
Yes, hi. Hello everybody. As Stuart said, my name's Bethany Allen from Cornwall Marine Network, but probably more known in Devon as CMN Training. So we are a training provider. We're also a marine member business down in Cornwall, but we have recently extended our approach into Devon and Somerset thanks to a new funding programme. So it's been around for about a year, I would say, this funding programme now, but we're quite new as a provider. We started in October. So the funding programme is run by Serco, and they've got project partners like Cornwall Marine Network and lots of other training providers in your area who are able to deliver online training or face-to-face when we get to that point for in a fully funded way. So the funding comes from the EU and the government, and that means we can provide this fully funded training to employed people or also those facing redundancy or recently made redundant as well. And when we talk about employed, it's important to note at the moment that that does include furloughed workers. So furloughed workers can engage with training as long as there is the agreement of the employer to do so. There's also a wage caveat whereby they need to be on national minimum wage at their 80% level, but I can cover that with anyone should you have any queries. So the Serco training offer through all the training providers is quite an extensive offer, and it covers a multitude of sectors. We personally tend to specialise in marine, manufacturing, construction and nuclear. But we also have electrical, we have the colleges on board as well. Lots of different sectors available. So what Cornwall Marine Network has been doing over this time is we've moved our training from being face-to-face. So we were delivering on employer premises in Devon and Somerset in the heart of the Southwest LEP area. So obviously with that, we needed to change to a delivery method that was online. So we have now converted over 30 courses across a number of different subject areas to be online delivery, and those are available to cross-sector companies. So we're delivering things like management, HR, sales, telesales, conflict management, marketing, social media, procurement and supply chain management, problem solving, negotiation, customer service, event management, finance, and the list goes on. So employers can access this training by contacting either ourselves, Cornwall Marine Network, or going through Serco themselves. And what we can do is post the contact details for our training team in the chat in a minute. So I'll post that in there. So we've got all different employers engaging with us at the moment across the counties, and obviously the great thing is that we can bring a wider geographical spread of employers together to deliver training as well. So we're really bringing best practice in. And with the Cornwall Marine Network training offer, what we do is we also bring in employer expertise and bespoke our training to employer need. So for example, if you as an employer had 4 members of staff who needed training in something very particular, and you had a way that you wanted something to be delivered, or say it was customer service, a certain way that you wanted phones answered, etc., what we could do is put on bespoke training especially for one business as well. Equally, if there was a small collection of businesses who had something very bespoke they needed, we can do that. So it really is kind of quite a movable feast of training, because we can deliver and develop as we go. So I think that probably covers a lot of what I need to say. But yeah, important to note about furloughed workers, because we've had a lot of engagement from businesses who have got people furloughed and are at home and potentially kind of looking for something to do, and it's a great time to upskill.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bethany. I'll go over to Sharron Robbie now. Remember to unmute yourself there, Sharron, and welcome to the chat.
Thank you, Stuart, and good afternoon, everybody. Lovely to see so many familiar faces.
Yes.
It's lovely. It's actually, these get-togethers are actually quite a nice little fill-up to the day sometimes, actually. Devon and Cornwall Training Provider Network, I know a lot of you know about the network. A number of my members, I can see you all sat there, so I can see City College Plymouth and South Devon College on the screen. There's probably more on there, but I can't see Learn Devon's there. I can see Learn Devon. So absolutely fantastic to see network members. We work across Devon and Cornwall, and in fact across the wider Southwest region, work with both LEPs, Cornwall and Isles of Scilly LEP, but also very much so with the heart of the Southwest LEP. And I can see Jacob is here today and doing quite a nice piece of work with him at the moment in this present climate. As I say, 50+ members. And they aren't just the FE colleges and the higher education institutes, a whole range of independent training providers. And we're really lucky here in the Southwest to have a really diverse training provider sector. One of the things that we're working on at the moment in this current situation is the support that's out there. So you spoke at the beginning, Stuart, about the lobbying that the Chamber are doing. Likewise, the Training Provider Network has been lobbying quite hard for the past few weeks about the financial support that is needed for the training provider sector in order to continue supporting its learners. And it's really important that we take on board the fact that the training provider sector, colleges, the universities and the independent sector do need this support, because when we come into recovery, employers, businesses are going to need skills and training. Bethany mentioned the furloughing of staff, and we've had a huge, I've been doing massive work around the furloughing of staff. I've been on a webinar this morning, and I was hoping that I was going to be able to tell your employer members some really good news with regards to the apprenticeship wage uplift. It is with the Treasury, I've been told. So those of you who have apprentices and who have furloughed them will know that if they undertake any training, you have to uplift their wages for the time that they're actually studying if it falls below that 80%. There is we have been lobbying on to the department to get this removed. We've been told that it's sat there and it's actually going to go through, but we haven't got it delivered yet. And I know Bethany will probably agree, she's probably heard the same. Yeah, so that will be something that's good news for employers. And as soon as that comes out, I will let you know, Stuart, so that you can share that with your members. We've very much been lobbying the government around flexibilities around endpoint assessment and trying to move things through so that people can actually finish their qualifications. But one of the things to say is, can you take on an apprentice now? Yes, and absolutely, you could still take on apprentices now. Can you keep your apprentices on programme whilst they're furloughed? Absolutely, and that's what you should do rather than go down the break and learning. And the other thing to say about the network members is that they've been really, really agile, really flexible in their approach to delivery. So very much around online, very much about supporting not only their learners, but their staff and their employers, and being flexible in the delivery of the training. So there is an awful lot of free stuff out there. Bethany's mentioned skill support for the workforce, but I know for a fact that people like Learn Devon and On Course Southwest in Plymouth are offering a whole range of online freebies training that furloughed staff could undertake, which actually may support them if and when things change, either looking for new work or upskilling them or redeploying them within a business. So though we're going through very, very difficult times, the sector is facing huge challenges. The majority of apprentices have kept on programme at this moment in time. We've surveyed our network. The majority of apprentices are still on programme. However, I don't know where we will be 6 weeks down the line, depending on how things move. We haven't yet seen the huge amount of redundancies around apprenticeships that we thought we might see initially. So at the moment, it's fingers crossed, and we're absolutely stunned at the great response from the provider network, and also how employers have embraced the technology in order to keep their staff on programme.
Great. Okay, thank you, Sharron. And perhaps if I could ask the various panelists, as you, when you're not speaking, perhaps if you put into the chat to everyone where people can find details of your courses, so perhaps the web address, or where a full list of the training that is available, or the providers that are available, probably in your case, Sharron. So that would be really helpful, and then we can all see that. So Mike Jones, I'll come over to you from City College. Perhaps you give us an update on what's happening in City College.
Yes, thank you, Stuart. Thank you, everybody, and welcome this afternoon, and thanks for having me. So obviously, City College Plymouth are a training provider delivering apprenticeships and supporting them. We've had a bit of a strange year as it goes. Obviously, with this pandemic, everybody's experienced a bit of weird times. But within the last 2 months, we've had Ofsted inspections, the national results tables come through, which has put the college back to #1 in the Southwest for achievement of apprenticeships, which we're really excited about. And now we're facing another challenge: is how do we actually continue to maintain that and support those apprentices over this very, very strange time? So as far as City College Plymouth is concerned, we currently have just over 1,200 apprentices on programme with us at the moment. And one of the biggest challenges, which Sharron has addressed there, is how do we continue to maintain learning for those while supporting employers through the financial struggles that they might be having. At the moment, we have 288 of those apprentices have actually been put on furlough. And we're very, very happy to say that only 7 are currently not engaged in learning, which we think is, is a fantastic outcome in the current situation. This has been, through, as to what Sharron was saying, through the amazing flexibility of an introduction to online delivery models. So using programs that, OneFile, Google Classroom, e-learning platforms, the college has really been able to see a new way of working and supporting learners through very difficult times. We feel that employers in this time need to continue to remain supported, and the college team, the business engagement team, the apprenticeship team at the college is maintaining that contact with employers to provide information on how their learners can continue, particularly those that are within the furlough situation. But we're also looking at how we as a college can diversify our provision, moving away from that traditional delivery method of standing in front of groups of learners to a more online program, but not only for apprenticeships, but also for adult learners as well, using the funding contracts that we have access to, including the adult skills budget. So there's lots going on within the college at the moment. Daily I'm dealing with questions and challenges that are being thrown at me from my team and from employers and apprentices. And I'm here today to really share our experience and answer any questions that I might be able to take.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So I think we're now on to Ian Woodland. Perhaps Ian, you'd like to come in there and give us an update.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ian. I am the curriculum lead for Learn Devon, and during this funky times, I'm the project lead for Learn Devon and our response to this crisis. And I guess what we're trying to do is moving now content online to make it accessible to all. And the three particular areas that we are dealing with amongst around our other provision is employability skills, digital skills, and health and well-being. So we're using our sort of our knowledge and our experience of reaching those far from employment and from education and bring them online. And our health and well-being is something we're really proud of. So for a business point of view, we would support your sales and your employees and anyone really to hit what I call like a biopsychosocial type, whether it's physical, mental, social isolation, supporting families at home during this time. And it's about working within the community and across the whole provision. We are just about to put our courses online, and the last count this morning, we've just approved 84 courses to hit the needs of the community. Like I said, it ranges across those areas, and what we are very proud of as well is like the adaptability and the agility within a team to work with yourselves, to work with businesses, to work with self-employed in a co-design approach to meet the needs of yourselves. Someone, I think as Bethany mentioned earlier, about those bespoke courses, and we would support in a similar fashion to meet the needs of your actual workforce. I've just now I'll be putting on the details in a minute. There's something wrong with my keyboard at the moment. Only my mouse works, so I will be updating that as soon as possible. But yeah, any questions going forward, all our courses are waived, all the fees are waived, and it's about supporting the communities of Devon. So yeah, any questions, please reach out.
Okay, thank you. And I can see in the chat that there's loads of you guys putting on your contact details. Thank you. And particularly we'd be interested to see links to where the training is, what type of training there is available. I suppose, Jacob, I just see if there's anything you wanted to add to what Ian had said there.
Yeah, I suppose I just want to say from my point of view, so Jacob Coburn, the Senior Economic Development Officer for Devon and the LEP, as Hearts of the Southwest LEP in Skills and Education, is that obviously as a council, we're working with all of the districts and Plymouth and Torbay to ensure that there's a recovery plan in place. A huge part of that is a training plan. And it's just key to say, as kind of Ian alluded to there, that there's a community plan around mental health and not leaving communities behind, as well as supporting business and a business transition. So, you know, if people are interested in what the wider package looks like, we're interested in talking to business about it, because we foresee that there's going to be other concerns for businesses other than just when can I open and when can we get going again, because, you know, people are suffering out there in various different ways, and our package of recovery is not just looking at one vision. We're looking across multiple needs that our community are going to need and how we're going to support people. And also from my perspective, just with my Devon hat on, is about businesses coming forward and being honest and open about what their concerns are for their business and their needs for transition. And can I just say, one of the examples we've had is that, for example, administration is changing right in front of our faces, and that the admin teams that we've got are still going to be with us at the end of this, but their jobs are going to be vastly different, and you've got a vast array of people offering training packages right now to help you with that. And that's just one example of a need. There's going to be multiple needs, obviously, in businesses, but if you need something, put your hand up. People aren't going to see it as a negative thing, and they can adapt to meet what people's needs are. And I'll be quiet now.
No, thank you, Jake. That's very interesting. I really appreciate that. So I'll shortly be coming on to Q&As. Helen, perhaps you'd like to talk about the poll we've got and how you want to run that?
Yeah, so Learn Devon, Debbie Stafford and Learn Devon have asked if we would run a bit of a poll regarding skills needs, really, your opinions, your needs, what you're looking for, what's working for you, what's not working for you, and so on. So we've put it together in a poll on behalf of Learn Devon, which I'm going to put up on your screens, or actually Olivia is going to put up on your screens now. If you could just take a few minutes to look at that, respond to it, And then from that, because we will be able to get answers very quickly, that will also help to form part of our conversation as we move forward. So Olivia, if you're ready, if you could put that up on the screen, please.
Just bear with me 2 moments, Helen.
Technology. It worked perfectly the other day, didn't it?
It did. I told you it was too easy.
I think I can do it from here, actually. I've got launch polling. Shall I do that?
Yes, that's it.
Oh, can you guys see this? No?
Yep.
You can. Wow.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, I can see that.
So,
if you could just take a few minutes to go through those questions and ask them. They're not long-winded, but they might just take a few moments for you to consider them all. Then that would be really helpful. I think not just for Learn Devon, but I suspect it will be useful for the colleges, for Sharron, Robbie, and also for skill support for the workforce as they are developing more courses as we go.
okay, that's really useful. So I'm looking at 5 questions. I'm assuming because I'm the moderator here, I can't actually answer these questions, but you guys have got voting buttons, have you, out there?
Yeah, you just check the answers as you go. It's really straightforward.
Great, that's really helpful, thank you. And forgive me, we're all learning how to do this. I've been very nosy as I've gone around checking out people's living rooms by doing pin video, and I've just realised that, of course, that'll come out in the recording, so you can see that I've been checking out people's living rooms as we've gone. I think that's the joy of Zoom. So hopefully, Tracy, you won't be offended. I was just checking out how your flat's coming on. No, it's this Zoom. The technology is fantastic, isn't it? And I think we've all learned that we're going to do different things with work going forward. So you know, I chair British Chambers of Commerce Southwest, and we meet once a month, first Monday of the month. We were meeting up in Somerset, which for me is only an hour and a quarter, but for Kim in Cornwall was 2.5 hours. For the guy from Dorset was about 2 hours to go to. We've been holding them on Zoom and wondering why we didn't do that before, because the meeting's half as long, there's no travel time, and people tend to just get to the point of it. So I think we'll be doing lots more of this. So I'll just take a few more moments while everyone finishes their polling. I don't know if some of you I'm just waffling on while you're all finishing that. Hello, Tracy. Is that you saying you'd like to speak?
It's not a flat, it's an apartment.
I do apologise for luxury apartment overlooking the water in West End. I don't know if you've seen the social media pie chart of Zoom meetings and the productivity, and there's 2% is sort of productive content, and 27% is checking out your co-workers' houses, and 15% is saying, does my neck really look like that? And there's about 12% of, God, I wish I'd had a shower. I've noticed that I should have had a shave this morning. I don't know if you can see that, or hopefully it's so small on the screen you can't see that I've been too lazy to shave. So, good. Well, I think we'll put that. I'm going to mute you, Tracy, in case you say something rude. Then I'm just going to end the polling now. So I'll just give you another couple of seconds, and we'll end that poll. There. Are we all done? Anybody not done? Okay, I'm ending the poll. So there we go. Look. So should we take a quick second to review that? It says. Which of the following courses would be of interest to you or your staff? I've got 38% for creative arts for well-being. Can you guys see these results? Was that a yes? Sorry, I had that full screen, so I can't see if you can see these results or not. You can't, okay.
No, can't see them.
Ah, I've got a button marked share results. Let's try that. Sharing poll results.
There you go.
Can you see those?
Yep.
Oh, look at this. It's almost like I'm a genius. Definitely not. Modest too. So creative arts for for well-being, digital photography, drawing the view from your window, growing your own healthy food at home, 38%. Digital skills, 63%. I suppose that should be no surprise that that was the strongest one. We're all having to suddenly become very adept at these things. 40% for employability skills. 25% for family learning, 38% languages, something that I've been meaning to do, 38% personal development, 54% well-being. I think well-being really important issue at the moment. I think people are really struggling. I was reading that, like me, a lot of people struggling with insomnia, which I am at the moment, and also having very weird nightmares. So a question to you, other courses that you or staff would like to access that aren't listed above? Fortunately, more saying no than yes, but those who said yes, you can contact those providers using the chat function or the contact details that are in the chat function. Interesting that people would prefer, by the look of it, an open course with no accreditation for personal learning, but it's a fairly close run thing. When would you access your online course? Well, now, yes, I think that's the point of what we're saying, is let's use this furlough time, or for those who are still working, different times to actually train. And are you having to change how your business operates? If yes, is there particular training you'd like to access? Well, that's interesting that I'm surprised as many as 33% are saying they're not changing how their business operates. Okay, well, I'll stop sharing those results now, but I'm sure those will come up on the video when we circulate it after this event. So we're going to come to Q&A in a moment. Just while you're formulating your Qs and your As, I have a couple of quick sort of shout outs going on here. One, there's a couple of people who wanted to come in. So I'm just calling up my chat. I know, Ashley, would you, Ashley Beer, if you'd like to, you had some bits you wanted to cover if they weren't already covered. Do you want, is this an appropriate moment for you to do that while people are conjuring up their questions? You're on mute, Ashley. Hang on, I'll try and unmute you. There you go. No, you need to unmute yourself, Ashley.
I think I've done that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Stuart, and all credit to the Chamber having arranged these events. I think they're very constructive during this difficult period. First of all, I would say that certainly picking up quite a lot of feedback from employers about furloughing. It seems to be a bit of a minefield certainly for apprenticeships. The sort of questions I've got may be directed more towards Mike and Sharron, but others could obviously come in if they feel they want to comment on it. From a recent webinar, I've got some information from AELP, the Association of Learning and Employment Providers. New flexibilities are being announced, but there's been no response from the Department of Education. Very little has been coming out. Most combined authorities in devolved areas have responded and agreed to continue funding. So the sort of slightly controversial question is, do they feel that there appears to be a general feeling, be interested what the panel believe, that the government may want the apprenticeship scheme to fail, and some ITPs who deliver with AEB, apprenticeships, etc. This is where funding lines are not being guaranteed like the 16 to 19 funding lines for colleges. So fairly controversial issue, but the lack of response on this is worrying. I just wondered if the panel had any views on that.
Okay, thank you. So is there anyone on the panel who'd like to come in? Sharron,
Hi,
yeah.
hi, Stuart. Hi, Ashley. Thank you for your comment there. With regards to support for training providers, on Friday this was released. I was also on the ALP webinar this morning, and I'm also the regional chair for the AELP in the South. There has been a little bit of an issue with regards to guaranteed funding for apprenticeships. Okay, now there is a provider relief scheme. The closing date for that for providers to apply for it is Thursday, and it will cover April, May and June. So there is now some funding. With regards to your comment, does the government want to get rid of apprenticeships? I would say absolutely not. Absolutely not. The levy scheme was very much around the flagship for apprenticeships for the government. There are some changes coming. I have been on a webinar this morning, as I say, and I cannot give you some of the stuff that was being shared with me. We're waiting for confirmation. In fact, I've got my phone here on standby in case I actually get the nod that yes, I can say. There are a number of things around furloughed apprentices, and there are a number of things around the flexibilities for endpoint assessment. and for delivery. Mike, I know, will agree with me. He will also be aware of some of those things that we're waiting to hear, as will Jacob, but we can't actually share those at this moment in time. However, the fact that the government were very much keen for employers to furlough their apprentices, keep them on programme, people like City College, South Devon College, focus training, I know achievement training, all of you keeping them on programme, keep talking to your employers and keeping that process going. Very much the apprenticeship programme is still being invested in, and I think it's really key that we actually we don't lose sight of that. So Ashley, yes, there is a little bit of an issue around funding for some of those training providers who do not have a non-levy contract, and also for those who just work with levy payers. However, we are waiting for further information from the department on if there's going to be a change.
Thank you, Sharron. That's very helpful. Was there anyone else who wanted to come in on that? Mike, I think...
I'll come in. Just trying to unmute myself.
You were muted, Mike. I could see you talking. I hope it may have been to us, but Bethany, you go ahead and then come in, Mike.
Sorry, cut across you, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was on the AELP as well. We've actually found that as a training provider, that isn't going to be relevant for us, that funding that has been, or the scheme that's been announced. We've actually found, because we're an apprenticeship provider as well, we've only had to put about 3 apprentices on a break in learning across all of our apprenticeship provision. And actually what we're seeing is those apprentices that are furloughed, as Sharron said, is that they are being retained by employers to continue undertaking their training from home, and they're engaging with us and our assessors and able to kind of complete their, as we call it, off-the-job training from home, and really use this time. Because what we're anticipating is once they move into back into the workplace, actually they're probably going to have to hit the ground running and won't have that time to potentially undertake that skills training at that point. So really kind of getting all of the skills provision in now, and any of the training that can be done from home now, so that once they're back in the employer premises, they can kind of hit the ground and really be of benefit. So that was all from me.
Thank you. And Mike, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, just to reiterate as well what the 2 panelists have said, I think spot on. And I think from, as a training provider, we are seeing things and efforts being made to actually support achievement of apprenticeships during this difficult time. So things around the consultations that are happening with Ofqual at the moment, the decision around functional skills within apprenticeships that came out last week. There is lots happening to be able to support progression for apprentices. So I definitely wouldn't say that they're trying to fail apprenticeships at all. I think actually what they're trying to do is ensure that learning can still happen, and where possible be as high quality as needed.
Great, thank you, Mike.
Could I just jump in there, Stuart, and say from a Devon County Council and LEP perspective, we've obviously put bids in to government around needs of what we want, and built within those packages, it isn't a massive increase in apprenticeships, and we've not been told that they're not going to fund it, and we've continued on with those bids now to stage 3. Well, I would like to think that by now they might have given us at least a wink and a nudge to say you might want to not have that element in your package, and they haven't. So I'm not saying that that's definite, and in any way, shape or form the world is changing, as we all know, vastly, but I would like to think by now we would have been told not to think about investing as we're thinking about in apprenticeships. Okay,
that's a good point. Of course, I should point out that we at the Chamber are sort of champions of this, in that Olivia is an apprentice. You don't mind me saying that, do you, Olivia? And she is continuing to work from home during this time, and we're supporting her with the training and everything. And it's been an incredible, close your ears, Olivia, I don't want to get any big ideas here, but she's been an incredible support to the Chamber, and we're so glad we took on an apprentice, and we wouldn't have managed without her at this time. So if you want to ask a question, raise your hands. I can see one going up from Sean Gibson. Would you like to come in there, Sean, and remember to unmute yourself?
All done, Stuart. Hi, everybody. Yeah. Although not representing one particular employer, but representing a number of employers who currently operate within the hospitality and retail business and sector. I'm really keen to be able to gather as much information from Learn Devon and the Cornwall Marine Network as possible to disseminate to the people who I have access to. I've got about 1,500 people who have either been made unemployed by redundancy or are currently being furloughed. And I'm keen to gather as much information regarding the online and fully funded courses as possible, so that I'm then in a position to pass on that information to them, so that they can then make the most of the funded support which is currently available. How do I get access to all of those range of courses?
If you're happy for me to jump in there. So I'd be more than happy, Sean, to have a chat with you offline, as it were, one-to-one, and talk you through everything we can do. Obviously, I've spoken a little bit about kind of the course offers out there, but it is quite a comprehensive list, as I think all of us training providers have. So I'd be more than welcome to share that with you, maybe have a conversation and give you relevant information that can be disseminated on a larger scale to those contacts of yours. What is important to note there as well is that we are one of the training providers for Serco who are supporting those who are recently made redundant or going through furlough or redundancy processes. So if we as a training provider cannot help, we have a wider provider network where we can all come together and also work together as training providers to build packages of support. So what we try to do is always work together to make sure we give them a round package of support, rather than being like you can only go to one provider and such like. There are restrictions when it comes to funding, but that's why we're here. We're here to hide the wiring as it is and just enable access and enable people to get the skills they need and the confidence building as well that sits behind that.
Sean.
Thanks for that, Bethany. I was just about to pick up on Sharon's point now, because Sharon's already introduced me to a lady called Pam Coe, who works at Serco, and I had a meeting with Pam very recently. So I have all of that online provision, but the Learn Devon provision is stuff that I currently haven't got.
No problem. Okay,
so I'll just jump in on there. For the immediate information, I will just put my email up there now. It's ian.woodland@devon.gov.uk, and I'll act on that straight away. The information, of course, is going up is in the next 24 to 48 hours. We are in the position to waive all the course fees for the next 3 months, which is a great success. And again, you know, we can work with yourself directly. We can work with the clients and the people you work with to make sure that what we offer is on point and is needed to keep them sort of on board, to keep the motivation going. Excuse me, it does go nuts. Postman, it's always happens, done it to Zoom. I live on a beach in Porthtowan, and he gets very jealous when people go on the sand. So we can offer the courses there. So if you come and speak to us directly via the contact details we put up a bit further up into the chat page, or if you want to contact me directly, we can work like in a sort of a co-design way to hit the needs of your clients.
Thank you. I've got both yours and Debbie's details at the moment, and
brilliant.
I will contact you. That's great. Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
Olivia, if I could ask you to collate all the contact details and the web links of where this training is listed, and we'll circulate that to all attendees of this meeting afterwards, so that you don't have to spend hours scrolling through the chat, although it's there if you want it. And of course, the video will be available. But Olivia, if you just collate from the presenters, the panelists, what their contact details are and where the links are to the training that's available, and we will circulate that. I've been promising Marina for about 10 minutes that we'll come to her, but I just wanted to ask Emma Hewitt. Emma, you put an interesting item on the chat there. Do you mind just telling people about that?
Help if I unmuted myself. Anyway, hello everyone. Yeah, over the last sort of couple of weeks, we've been working. So my day job is obviously focused on construction skills, but I work within a wider skills team. And what we've been looking at is obviously the impact on people. So we've been liaising with our economic development colleagues, but a piece of work that we think needs to be done very quickly, and I think the people on this call are actually key stakeholders on this, is actually looking at what the current offer is. So we all know individually little pockets of information, but actually for the person that might be becoming unemployed, the person who might be leaving school and have no idea what their next steps are, where do they go and how can they get that sort of signposted information? So we want to start very quickly a bit of a mapping exercise. So all the great offers you guys have been talking about today come together in one kind of place, wherever that place is. And then together we can also identify where there are some gaps and how we can firefight the short term, but also be looking ahead at medium long term. And this could be a way of us actually revolutionising how we do skills in the city and the wider peninsula as well, rather than kind of silo and just thinking about individual offers. How does this map and get across? So I've put my email there. We will be getting out a comms piece within the next few days. So if you want to be part of that, I'm really keen to hear from everyone, particularly that's spoken today, to make sure we've got everything. Thank you, Stuart.
Okay, no problem. And I think we might be able to help facilitate that as well. So perhaps have a liaise with Helen outside of here.
Yep, great.
Could I jump in there, Stuart? Sorry.
No. Yeah, go on.
So we are kind of a step ahead with that. So if you go on the LEP website, we have put in a jobs fair. The focus of that jobs fair is to bring together all opportunities around education, training, job availability, all onto one page that's there. If you want, we're in the process of working on it. We hope to have it up by the end of next week. So if anyone wants to engage with that, please feel free to. I'll drop my email on the Zoom chat in a moment. If you want an example of how it works, if you look at Norfolk's system, they did this about a year ago. So what happens is all the information for jobs, careers, training, all the support systems are all put in one place, so that there's a one-stop shop. Our aim is to have that up and operational within 3 weeks. So yeah, we as a Devon and Somerset, we are aware there is a need, and we are working with all of our partners on that as quickly as we can.
That's great. Thank you, and we'll help you in any way we can to point to that. And I'm sure all the training providers will want to ensure that they're properly engaged with that. Just before I go to anyone else, Marina, I have been promising for about 15 minutes now on the chat that I'd come to you. You got a sort of 30-second slot. Go for it.
Thank you, Stuart. Actually, it follows on really well from what Jacob and Emma were saying there. So I work at Employable. I don't know whether any of you guys have heard of Employable before, but it's a career management and transition platform. It's an app. And it identifies, it maps and it tracks users through their career, so whether they're transitioning, whether they're managing, so all age ranges, doesn't matter what stage of their career they're at. So we are your one-stop shop for all training courses, e-learning, apprenticeships, and we're at a stage where we're building up our partnerships, and we work with Pauline Hand, City College, we work with South Devon College, Learn Devon. So we are working with you guys at the moment, and we're giving out free courses at the moment, but we want to be working with more of you to be getting all of your courses onto the app. So because we found that the uptake of users has been huge during these last 3 weeks because of redundancies, people looking for jobs. So basically the app is all about upskilling, but it's got a jobs board plugged into the back of it. So it's all about matching that user's skills and qualifications to jobs, but it's also the other way around, so that if they see a job that they want and they haven't got those skills and qualifications, we then signpost them to their local training provider or their local college. So we're really all about bringing it all together into one place. So I guess that brings Emma's idea and Jacob's idea together, but we do it nationally as well. So I think that would be interesting to follow on that conversation offline as well.
Good. I hope that's added some value to you. Thank you very much. So I'm aware that time's pressing on. God, it flies, doesn't it? These things. So we've got just a couple of minutes left. Any other pressing questions from anyone around there? Either raise your virtual hand, or I'm just scrolling through the pictures now. If anyone wants to wave furiously at the camera. No, I'm not seeing any. Ashley, do come in. Go ahead, over. You need to unmute yourself, Ashley. No.
Can you hear me?
We can now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Just a quick comeback on my previous question. It was predicated on the basis also of the Financial Times actually had a headline: "The apprenticeship crisis looms in England over coronavirus payments." So if there has been an update on that, that is very good and good to hear. But I'm still hearing there's some confusion. So I really hope we've had a very recent update from government on that. A quick hello to Marina. I'm actually an investor with Employable. And I'm very happy to comment in a minute, Stuart, unless you'd like to go right into it on suggestions for future meetings for topics.
Yes, well, fully enough. So the last item on my agenda, I'm not seeing any other hands raised, is what else would you like us to campaign on? What other events would you like us to host? What do you think is missing out there in the marketplace? Because we, as the Chamber, want to support you and make sure that you are getting all the information you want. So do you want to start that briefly, Ashley, and then we'll go around the room?
Yeah, if I could, Stuart, and again, aware of time, just very briefly, I hate to mention the B word, everyone, but Brexit is still a key issue for employers. The government has, we might think it's the end of the year, but government's effectively got until July to give the EU notice that they, if they should wish to extend the end of December timetable, they're indicating they're not willing to do so at the moment. I personally regard that as political dogma, but my key point for business, and I think this is why we need consultation, and I know PMG have mentioned it in terms of the manufacturing side of things, but retailers and all sorts of other businesses need to get involved with this as well, which is letting government know huge concerns over lack of preparedness for this, and on top of this current virus, to then have Brexit issues coming up in January, such as, just one example, tax on imports, VAT. From January from Europe, you'll have to pay the VAT up front and then only claim it back when you've got the output tax, i.e. the sale. That alone will have a huge impact on cash flow at a time where I think this virus will continue for some time on and off. It's the last thing that is needed. So perhaps something along the lines of Brexit awareness before the July deadline, also tying in with lots of offers, availability, maybe getting Lloyds, Barclays and others along. They are offering special business loans at the moment connected with Brexit, but also with the virus. So any heads up on that, I think, for members would be very useful.
Okay, thank you. Helen, would you like to come back in there and just give the attendees here a quick update? And don't disappear, guys, because what I'm going to do in a minute is let you all know that we'll take a snapshot. And I think Paul Burton's on the line. Either he or Olivia will take that snapshot. But Helen, do you want to just let people know what's coming up?
Yeah, just to say that based on previous feedback, we've got an itinerary for May with various topics. So next week is the 4th of May, and Rich Adams from the University of Plymouth Research and Innovation Centre will be facilitating a discussion based on innovation, how we look forward, how do we adapt our businesses, what opportunities are out there. So we're starting to look at how we move forward from this and come out of it stronger and in a much better position for business. On the 11th of May, we've got representation from Plymouth City Council and again from Devon County Council and the Growth Hub in particular, looking at their grants, how they've managed to get money to businesses and how there's still opportunities for businesses to take advantage of their grants and so on, and also any other support and advice around and available from those local authorities. The following week, we're looking forward, we're looking at marketing and how is your marketing and comms strategies going to be, have to be adapted and realigned, ready for the new world. And then the following week, again, we're looking forward, but we're looking forward with well-being and mindfulness and looking at how we manage our teams, how we look at perhaps getting back into the office after a long break, how people are going to be a little bit wary, sceptical about their own safety going back into society, as it were. So those are the type of topics we've got coming up over the next month. I'm also going to introduce a couple of just purely networking events as well. So on the 7th and 14th of May, they're Thursdays, we're just going to have some purely networking events to just be able to interact, connect with each other, look at what we're doing, not necessarily as selling tools, but look at and learning from each other as to how you've adapted, what you've been doing, how you've coped, and how we're all looking to come out of this stronger. but please do keep any ideas and so on coming. The other thing, just picking up on Ashley's point, is that I am putting together, alongside Womble Dickinson, Inspire and International Trade Matters, a series of EU transition events aimed at understanding how we're going to not only come out of this, transition out of this period, but transition out of the EU in the longer term. Whether that is December, whether that is delayed for a bit longer, we don't know. But even so, businesses will have to be looking at how they transition, especially if you're dealing with international trade. So thanks for that, Ashley, and we have got it covered, so any support and guidance towards that will be very useful. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm very aware that we're overrunning. Well, I'm just before we finish to say thank you all so much for attending. Genuine thank you to all for your continued membership. I'm very, very pleased to tell you that we're not falling off a cliff with membership, which is fantastic. I really, really appreciate your support at this time, as we're working really hard for the business community. And finally, I'm going to unmute everyone and do an unusual online applause for our panelists, and to say thank you very much. So you're all unmuted. I think, yeah, let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much for joining us. Just giving me a very strange look. Okay, thanks everyone. It's been a delight seeing you all, and I really appreciate your continued support, and we'll see you soon.